Hello everyone, this is What If Naruto Bastard Son of Minato Dark Konoha Part 1 and this is Milton_fanfiction. Before we start, please do consider subscribing to this channel, like, comment and turn on that bell notification for new uploads. Thanks all of you for 324 subscribers. Hoping we reach 500 subscribers soon. Anyways, let's begin.
She felt like she was drowning beneath the heavy waves. She struggled, fought to escape the darkness and reach the surface, to again return to the light. Slowly, painfully, she awakened. Her eyes opened to a harsh, too bright light. Her parched lips managed to whisper a name. Minato. A young girl gasped and then ran out of the room shouting, "Lady Tsunade. She's awake. Kushina is awake." Shizune raced down the corridor desperate to find her sensei. In short order, Tsunade was hovering over her dear friend, performing a diagnostic jutsu and fighting back relieved tears. "Oh, thank Kami. Kushina, you very nearly died. It's been a whole week. You've been in a coma for 7 full days. I wasn't sure you would ever wake up." "A week?" Kushina's voice cracked. "That's right," Tsunade said. "Minato?" she asked with a tiny bit of hope in her eyes. She knew what must have happened, but maybe. "I'm sorry," Tsunade answered, crushing her faint hopes. "He sacrificed himself to save the village. He was a great man and a true hero." She shut her eyes. Oh, Minato. He was really gone then. Her one true love was gone. "But there is someone else I love." "Naruto?" she asked with her scratchy voice. "Where is Naruto?" She saw Tsunade take on a fearful expression and Kushina felt fear stab into her heart. "Is Naruto alright?" "He's fine, Kushina," Tsunade assured. "I've been checking on him regularly. He's perfectly healthy. He's in a private room not far from here under heavy Anbu guard." "Guard?" she asked worriedly. Her mind was still a bit fuzzy, but that didn't sound right at all. "Why is he under guard?" "Kushina." Tsunade hesitated but knew her friend had to be told and it was best if she heard it from her. "While you were in your coma, the council met and came to some decisions about your son. I did what I could, but you have to understand that the majority of them wanted him to be killed." "Killed?" Despite her weakness, she suddenly sat up. She was rewarded with sudden pain racking her entire body. "Careful." Tsunade gently took a hold of her and laid her back down onto the hospital bed. "Kushina, your body is in a frail state right now. You mustn't overexert yourself or you could die." "Why would they want to kill Naruto?" she demanded with her rasping voice. "He is Minato's son. He is sacrificing himself to make Kyuubi a prisoner. He is as much a hero as his poor father." Tsunade nodded sadly. "I know that, and I agree with you. That little baby is a hero and the sacrifice he will have to make for the rest of his life is every bit as noble as the one Minato made. But I'm afraid most of the people in this village, ninja and civilian, don't see it that way. They don't see him as Minato's son, or even as an innocent baby. They consider him to be Kyuubi." Kushina looked up horrified. How could people be so stupid? How could they see a baby and honestly believe he was one of the Biju? "I want to be with him. I want my son." Tsunade nodded. "We'll get you in a wheelchair and take you to him. But Kushina, before we do that you need to know what the council decided." The Anbu guards had tried to deny Kushina entrance to her son's room. A few quiet words from Tsunade had convinced them otherwise. Kushina was sitting in a wheelchair, her baby in her arms. There were scars on his cheeks, but otherwise he seemed like a perfectly normal baby. He was sleeping peacefully in her arms. Tsunade and Shizune were in the room as well. They all looked up when the door opened and Sarutobi entered. He was in his Hokage robes and when he saw her he gave her a grandfatherly smile. "Kushina, I am so happy to see you awake and alert." Kushina didn't return his smile. Instead, she sent him a look of pure and absolute hatred. "How could you?" she asked in a voice that was little more than a whisper. "Minato trusted you." The smile faded away from Sarutobi's face. He suddenly looked very old and very weary. "I see you have been told about the council meeting and the decisions that were reached." He looked to Tsunade and Shizune. "Could we have a moment alone, please?" Tsunade glanced at Kushina, who gave her a slight nod. "Come on, Shizune. Let's get a quick bite to eat." The moment they were gone, Kushina began to speak. Her voice was kept low, but her anger was not hidden. How dare you? Hokage or not, what gives you the right to strip my son of what is his? He is Minato's rightful heir and will be head of the Namikaze clan one day. How dare you plan to take away his name and declare him an orphan? That was for his own protection, Sarutobi said quietly. You know how many enemies Minato had. If they knew he had a son, the boy's life would be in constant danger. And no one knew if you would ever wake up. Making him an orphan seemed the wisest course, and it was the best one available. Well, I'm awake now, so that won't be a problem, will it? Since I am Minato's wife, that makes me Namikaze clan head until Naruto comes of age. I'll protect my son, and if you want to assign extra security, I won't object. To her shock, rather than agree with her, she saw him slowly shake his head. I'm very sorry, Kushina, he told her. But I am afraid you will not be recognized as either Minato's widow or his Namikaze clan head. So far as Konoha is concerned, you were his lover and Naruto his illegitimate son. She stared at him, not believing what he was saying. I was his wife. We were married a year and a half ago in Whirlpool. I know for a fact that Minato gave you a copy of the marriage documents. He did, Sarutobi admitted. I have taken the documents and put them in a safe place. When the time is right and Naruto is ready to make his claim, I will present them to the council and vouch for their authenticity. But I am afraid that for now I cannot make them public or acknowledge either you or Naruto as Minato's legitimate heirs. You can't do that, she whispered. How can you say such things? I thought you were Minato's friend. How can you turn your back on me and his son? Kushina, Sarutobi said patiently. If I acknowledged you as Minato's wife and legitimate head of Namikaze, you would be assassinated within the week. What? Too many people hold too much resentment against you. I am sorry, but to most you are a foreigner who seduced their beloved Yondaime. Were you from Konoha, things might be different, but if you were suddenly proclaimed Minato's widow, the ugly truth is most people would simply see you as a thief trying to steal the largest fortune in Konoha. Too many in this village would be too violently opposed to allowing a foreigner to claim the Namikaze fortunes and estates. Your life would be in severe danger, and if you were killed, what would happen to Naruto then? He would be an orphan and everyone would know there was a connection to Minato. He would be in even greater danger. I'll take my chances, she ground out. I have more faith in my katana right now than I do in you and all your Anbu and ninja. I'll tell everyone the truth and stake my claim to the Namikaze clan holdings. Please don't do that, Sarutobi asked. If you do, I will have no alternative but to publicly deny your claim. You would really do that? You would really deny me and my son what is ours? Yes, I am very sorry, Kushina, but given the climate of fear in the village right now, you would never be able to hold your claim. As I've said though, that may change in time, when Naruto is older. To hell with that. Why should my son be denied what is his? All I am asking for is what rightfully belongs to us. I am sorry, Kushina, but I cannot allow it, for your own safety as well as his. Then I'll tell everyone the truth. Sarutobi shrugged. No one will believe you. You have no evidence to back your claim. The only people who know the truth are you, me, Tsunade, and Jiraiya. I will not support you, and Jiraiya is not in Konoha. If Tsunade is the only one who backs your claim, it will look like she is acting to help a friend. The entire Uzumaki clan witnessed my marriage, she shot back. And the original marriage documents are in Whirlpool. I can present them and have a dozen witnesses who know the truth. The old man sighed. I will declare the documents to be forgeries and everyone will assume that your family is lying to help you swindle the Namikaze fortune. All you will really accomplish is destroying any possibility that Naruto will inherit in the future. If I am forced to publicly declare Naruto is not Minato's legitimate heir, it will be impossible to reverse that in the future. Kushina, please try and understand that this is the best I can do. The council was adamant that your son either be killed or made a living weapon. It took every favor I had and all my skill just to convince a majority of them to allow him to be treated as an orphan. I was even able to pass a special law to prevent anyone who knows the truth about the Kyuubi from telling anyone else. That way he might at least have normal relationships with those of his own generation. How very generous of you, she said bitterly. You would have had Minato's only child grow up a poor orphan all alone in a village where he was hated. Tsunade told me his name is Uzumaki Naruto. You deny him even his rightful name. If his last name were Namikaze, that would defeat the entire effort to protect him from Minato's enemies. Sarutobi said reasonably. Sign you are conscious he will of course not be an orphan. I will have a small house and pension provided for you and have Enbu protect him around the clock. I will also give you as many missions as you like to allow you to earn extra money. Though it may be difficult, the two of you should be alright until Naruto comes of age. Are you insane? Kushina asked him. You think I'd actually stay in a village where he'll be hated and where he is being robbed of his birthright? I'm taking my son back to Whirlpool with me. Kushina, I cannot. Don't you dare, she said sharply. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You say he is not Minato's legitimate heir, that he and I have no connection to Namikaze. Fine then, that also means you and this damn village have no authority over me. I am not a leaf nin. I am not even a citizen of Konoha since I apparently never married Minato. I am a ninja of Whirlpool. As for my son, who is an Uzumaki after all, he is a citizen of Whirlpool and part of my clan. You have absolutely no right to keep me and my son here against my will. That is true, Sarutobi answered carefully. And if you wish to leave with your son, I will not try and prevent it. But please understand that if you leave, I will no longer be able to protect you or Naruto. I think I'd rather do without your protection, Sarutobi. I do have one request though. All my private belongings are in the Namikaze mansion. I trust I will be allowed to get my property before I go? He nodded sadly. Of course, though you will not be permitted to take anything that belongs to the Namikaze clan. Just so you know, the estates have been placed in trust and sealed. No one will be allowed to use them. That specifically included the jutsus in the private library. I understand, wouldn't want the whore from Whirlpool making off with the family silverware. Kushina, get out, she said coldly. I think we understand each other just fine, old man. Nodding, he turned to leave. I am sorry, I honestly did the best that I could. Yes, and wouldn't Minato be proud if only he could see what you've done? Sarutobi lowered his eyes in shame. He really had done all he could for her and for Naruto. But he was still ashamed that it was so much less than they deserved. It was 3 days before Kushina recovered enough to leave the hospital. When she did so, she had Naruto in her arms and Tsunade and Shizune at her side. She was in her red and black bodysuit with her katana in its sheath on her back. She had a full set of kunai, shuriken, and explosive notes in her possession. She was glad to be so fully armed. The way people were staring at her and her child, she thought she might have to fight her way through. Along with Tsunade and Shizune, she had 4 squads of Anbu escorting her from the village to the mansion. People understood that Anbu always meant business, and whatever their feelings, the common folk maintained enough sense to keep a safe distance. That didn't prevent them from staring with those hateful, unforgiving eyes. It also didn't keep the occasional fool from shouting, whore, or monster, or demon. Seeing so much hatred being directed at her and her child, she longed to take out her katana and give them something to really fear. If you only had one neck, I'd hack it through. When they reached the Namikaze estate, they saw a seal on the gate. 2 Anbu escorted her, Naruto, and Tsunade onto the grounds. Shizune and the rest of her escort waited at the gate. When they reached the mansion itself, she saw there were seals not only on the door but every last window as well. Inside the building was dark and quiet. The servants, of course, were long gone. The place had been so full of life and happiness not too long ago. They had spent their time getting Naruto's room ready and making plans for the baby. Though it had been delayed, she had finally brought Naruto home. But he would not be allowed to stay. All this is yours, my darling. Your father wanted you to live here and carry on his clan's name. This place and everything in it belongs to you. No matter what Sarutobi or anyone else says. They came to the master bedroom. If you don't mind, I'd rather not have 2 men looking while I sort through my panties. Kushina said pleasantly. The 2 Anbu looked at one another. One wore an owl mask and the other a ram's. The 2 men had plainly been expecting to go in with them. Finally, the one with the owl mask nodded. We'll wait right here, you have 15 minutes. Thank you so much, she said as she shut the door. Kushina instantly handed Naruto over to Tsunade. Pack up a bunch of my clothes, I don't care which. She whispered and hurried over to the far wall. What are you doing? Tsunade asked. Kushina pressed a concealed switch that looked like part of the window sill. Soundlessly, a hidden door within the wall slid open. I'm getting my son his legacy. She slipped into the hidden passageway and was gone. On the table in the private library, she hurriedly stacked what she could. She had gone to Minato's family den first, where he kept his family's jewels. He'd given all of them to her upon their marriage and told her the safe's location and combination. Inside was an ornate wooden jewelry box with 8 little drawers. Inside were rings and earrings studded with diamonds, rubies, emeralds and other precious stones. There was a diamond necklace with over 200 individual stones, all of them at least 2 carats. The necklace alone was worth 5 million ryu. The rest of the jewels combined might be another 3 million. She opened each of the little drawers and dumped the contents into a cloth sack on her belt. In the private library she retrieved all the family jutsu scrolls. She could sort them out later, but she made very sure that the one and only copy of the legendary Hiruzen no Jutsu was one of them. She placed them all on the table along with a couple photo albums that were also kept there. She then brought out a blank scroll with an ink jar and brush. She was a long way from being a seal master like Minato or Jiraiya. But her darling had taught her the basics of the art and that was enough. She wrote down the necessary formula onto the blank paper. Then, using the bare minimum of chakra she made a hand sign. Seal. Everything that had been on the table vanished. On the scroll new symbols appeared representing those objects. She rolled the scroll up tight and slipped it into her bodysuit between her stomach and her body armor. With that done she hurried back to the secret passage. They left the mansion with 2 large packs stuffed with clothes and with their escort none the wiser. From the estate they were headed straight to the gate. As they passed the Hyuga estate Kushina glanced at it. Hiyashi had been Minato's closest friend and she considered him and his wife to be dear friends as well. But neither of them had visited her in the hospital. They had done nothing to try and help her or her son. She was left with no choice but to conclude that like everyone else in Konoha they had decided to abandon her now that Minato was gone. All along the way to the gate she encountered more of the same ugly looks and hateful shouts. Everyone only made her that much more eager to get back to Whirlpool and her clan. "You know you two don't have to escort me," Kushina said. "Don't worry," Tsunade answered with a grin. "It's not like I want to stay in this village any more than you do. Besides, it's been a long time since I've been to Whirlpool, it'll be fun." "Thank you, both of you." She looked at them gratefully. "It means a lot to me to know that at least the 2 of you still support me." As they neared the gate Tsunade smiled. "Well, it looks like we're not the only ones." There waiting for them were 2 young teens. One with an Anbu mask in the form of a dog in his hand. "Kakashi, Rin, thank you for seeing me off," Kushina said. "I'm sure Minato would be grateful to know his students came to see me in Naruto." Rin came up to her, tears in her eyes. "Is it true? Are you really leaving for good?" Kushina nodded. "With the way things are I think it's for the best. Naruto won't be treated fairly in this place. In Whirlpool he'll be loved and respected, and he'll have a huge family. But it's not fair," the girl cried out. She looked lovingly at the little baby. "No it's not," Tsunade said. "But for that you can blame the people of this village. Their own cruelty and heartlessness have forced this situation." Kakashi slowly stepped forward until he was shoulder to shoulder with Rin. His Hite Ite was covering his left eye while his right was looking down at the baby's face. "He looks just like Sensei," he said quietly. "How can they hate him?" "I don't know," Kushina said. "But they do." Kakashi looked up from Naruto's face to Kushina's. "Kushina, I want to make a request. Please let me come with you." "What?" Rin gasped and turned to him. "Kakashi, you can't do that." "She'd right," Tsunade said. "Shizune and I have been given special permission to travel as we please from the old man. You can't leave the village without permission, you know that. If you do you'll be a missing nin. They'll send hunter nins after you to track you down," Rin said fearfully. Kushina smiled gently. "Thank you Kakashi. I truly appreciate the offer and I know Minato would be very proud of you. But I can't ask you to make such a sacrifice for me." Kakashi calmly produced a piece of paper and handed it to Kushina. "The Hokage has granted me permission to resign my ninja status and leave the village." That produced gasps not only from Rin, Tsunade, and Shizune but from their Enbu escort as well. Kakashi was only 15 but he was already becoming a Black Ops legend, the famed copy ninja. Kushina did not gasp or make a fuss. She took the document and read it silently. It was indeed a letter from the Hokage with his seal and signature releasing Kakashi from his status as a ninja and permitting him to leave the village. "Why would Sarutobi do this? I told him that I could no longer serve this village," he answered calmly. "In my life there have been 2 men who I truly admired and wanted to be like, my father and my sensei. One was scorned by the people and ninja of this village until he was finally driven to commit seppuku. The other sacrificed himself for the sake of Konoha, only to have his lady love and his son hated and driven out. He pulled off his Hite Ite, careful to keep his left eye shut. So far as I'm concerned, this village does not deserve my loyalty. If you'll let me, I want to help protect my sensei's son. I want to try and be a role model for him just like Minato sensei was for me. But whatever happens, I will no longer serve this ungrateful village. Taking a kunai, he slowly and deliberately slashed the metal on his headband, neatly cutting the leaf symbol in two. Kakashi, Rin looked at him horrified. You can't, I'm sorry Rin, I really am, he told her gently as he replaced the now slashed Hite Ite. But I can't serve a village that treats its heroes this way. Kushina looked at him. If you are absolutely sure, then you are more than welcome to join me. My clan and village would welcome you. Thank you Kushina-san. 3 days of travel had brought them to the edge of Whirlpool territory. Whirlpool was a small country stuck between Earth and Whirlpool. It was really a city-state based around the ninja village that was located on the coast. It was a cold, gloomy, wet place where it rained almost every morning and where the grass would grow as high as your shoulder. Whirlpool was perhaps a quarter the size of Konoha with a complement of about 400 ninja. The Uzumaki were considered one of the strongest of the clans based there. They were known for their swordsmanship and their ferocity in battle. There was an old saying in Whirlpool that everyone knew, don't piss off the Uzumaki. As they made camp, Kushina got done feeding her son and sang him a lullaby that soon had him asleep. He was such a good-natured baby. He hardly ever cried or fussed. He actually seemed to enjoy riding on her back through the trees. You seem to be in a really good mood, Tsunade noted once Naruto was asleep. Kushina smiled. I'm going to see my family tomorrow and I get to show my parents their grandson. Of course I'm in a good mood. Whirlpool may not be much compared to Konoha in a lot of ways, but I know Naruto will be happy there. He'll grow up surrounded by the clan, safe and loved just like I did. Kushina looked about to see Kakashi and Shizune a little ways off. Listen Tsunade, there's something I've been meaning to ask you about. Kushina said quietly. What? Tsunade dropped her voice to match. Sarutobi told me Jiraiya wasn't in the village, but I noticed that some of the flowers in my hospital room were from him. It hadn't been hard to notice, there hadn't been many flowers. Tsunade looked a little uncomfortable as she answered. He returned to the village 3 days after the attack, just in time to attend Minato's funeral. He came to visit you, but of course you were in a coma. He also came to see Naruto. He spoke with me about what had happened and about Naruto's situation and your condition. I told him I didn't know when or if you would ever wake up. He left the next day. He just left? Kushina asked with a frown. Was he on a mission? Was there some reason why he left so quickly? Did he plan to come back? Tsunade shook her head. I don't know. He didn't tell me anything, the next day he was just gone. The impression I had though was that he didn't know how to handle losing Minato. He really loved him like a son. I know that, Kushina said. And if he needed time to grieve I could understand. But he is also Naruto's godfather. He should have been there to watch over him even if he was grieving. You know I'm usually not one to defend that pervert, Tsunade said. But losing Minato and not even being there to try and help really hit him hard. Maybe he has earned a little pass. At least withhold judgment until you can talk to him. I suppose that would be fair, Kushina admitted. Anyway, I'm sure my mom will make a feast for us once we get there. How long can you and Shizune stay? We'll definitely stay a few days, maybe a week. Tsunade grinned fondly. I seem to recall there are a few gaming dens in Whirlpool. Well, try to not lose all your money. Your gambling is really starting to get a little out of hand. No need to worry, I'm rich after all. It's not like I could ever lose my entire family fortune. With your luck I wouldn't be so sure of that. The next day they arrived a little before noon. The walls. Kushina stood rooted to the spot staring out. She didn't think she could move. Whirlpool had been surrounded by 30-foot-high walls. They had always stood there guarding the village and all those who lived there. But they were gone now. They had been reduced to a jumble of stone blocks. She was standing on the east road that led from Waterfall into Whirlpool village. The road itself seemed to be the only thing still intact. Kushina, Tsunade spoke and gently touched her arm. Come on, we have to check on your home. Home, she mumbled. Yes, home, come on. She hurried towards the shattered wall. "Oh please Cammy, just let my family be alright. I don't care if the house is gone as long as they're alright." Entering the village itself was even worse than seeing the destruction from a distance. There was not one building left standing, not one. It was hard to even be sure what was street and what used to be houses. There were bricks scattered everywhere. Here and there were people rooting through the rubble trying to salvage anything they could. No one offered to help them. They would look up to stare with blank empty eyes and then return to their labor. The air was thick with the sweet sticky smell of rot. Walking through the village, they were literally walking through a graveyard. Most of the bodies buried within the demolished buildings would never be recovered. The wreckage would be their final resting place. Kushina didn't let herself think about any of it. Her mind was focused on just one thought: getting home. Obviously there had been survivors. Even if the Uzumaki compound had been flattened, surely her family had survived. Most of them were ninja after all, born survivors. Surely they would be all right. She was running through the streets until she came to a cliff. She was forced to stop. There was nothing in front of her but the ocean. Looking out on the blue water, she felt her body begin to shake. "No," she whispered. "No, oh Cammy, no. No, 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 no." Her whispers grew into screams. "Kushina!" Tsunade grabbed and shook her. "Stop it, you're making Naruto cry." Kushina stared at her. "It's gone, it's really gone." "I know dear, I know." Tsunade said, sympathetic. She'd been to the Uzumaki compound. As she recalled, it was about 1.5 miles into what was now a bay. The cliff where they were standing had no docks of piers. There was rubble from houses right up to the edge. It looked as if part of the village had simply fallen into the sea. "What am I supposed to do now?" Kushina wailed. "I don't know," Tsunade told her. "But whatever it is, we'll figure something out." As Kushina continued to weep, a man approached them. "Kushina? Is that you?" Kushina looked up at the gray-haired man. He was wearing the same type of black and red bodysuit she had. On his back was a katana. She recognized him. Uncle Saishu. "Oh, thank Cammy." She ran to him. He opened up his arms and embraced her. "Oh uncle, then Cammy, I'm glad you're all right. Did you get my letter?" he asked her. "No," she looked up at him. "What letter? What happened here? Where are the others? Mother? Father? Temjin?" The man slowly and regretfully shook his head. "There are no others, Kushina, we are the only Uzumaki left. I only survived because I was out of the village when the Kyuubi came." "The Kyuubi? The Kyuubi did this?" Kushina asked, not believing it. "But the Kyuubi was never in Whirlpool," Tsunade argued. "No, but he created an earthquake, which is what did all of this. He destroyed us without even coming here." Saishu told them. "I can believe that," Kakashi said. "I was in the field trying to slow it down and I saw the unbelievable power of the thing. It could flatten a mountain with a swipe of one of its tails." With all this going on, Naruto began to cry again. Saishu finally noticed the newborn. "Kushina, is this your son?" She nodded and carefully took Naruto into her arms to show him to her uncle. "Uncle Saishu, this is my son Naruto." Even surrounded with such tragedy, the man smiled down at the squalling child. "He's a beautiful baby, and he looks just like his father. Is Minato here with you? For that matter, why did you come here if you hadn't gotten my letter yet? I thought your parents were going to visit you after the child was born. Your mother said she was going to stay with you in Konoha for a few months." "A lot has happened, uncle," she told him wearily. "Can we get out of here? I don't want to have to look at this anymore." They left the village and went out into some nearby hills. Over a quiet lunch of fish and some rice, they talked and shared information. Kushina hesitated to tell her uncle the truth about her son. Given what the Kyuubi had done, she feared he might resent him as the villagers did. But the bonds of clan and family were strong, and she trusted they would be more important than anything else. She also did not want to keep secrets from her only remaining relative. Saishu was shocked to learn Minato was dead and even more surprised to learn what was inside his grandnephew. But as Kushina had hoped, he did not turn away from her son as the villagers in Konoha had. To him, her son was family first and everything else second. She was also happy to see he shared her fury for Sarutobi and the villagers. "They have a weird idea about loyalty," Saishu said darkly. "They love the father but cast out the wife and son. They don't acknowledge me as his wife," she said bitterly. "To them I was nothing but a conniving whore, and Naruto is just an illegitimate bastard." "Blood is blood," Saishu replied. Even if they didn't see you as his wife, they still should have at least recognized Naruto as his son. They should have, but they don't, uncle, she said tiredly. And since the original marriage documents are at the bottom of the ocean, there's nothing I can do to prove it. Eventually the conversation led to one inevitable topic. So what do we do now? Shizune asked. The others all looked at one another. We could go back to Konoha, Shizune offered. I am sure the Hokage would take everyone back, and I'm sure Saishu would be welcome too. The village is short of ninja after all. No, Kushina said decisively. I won't have my son raised somewhere people will hate him. We can stay right here, Saishu said. I was planning on salvaging whatever I could from the compound. It won't be easy, it may take years, but… No, Kushina cut him off. Uncle, how long do you think it will be before the rock nins swarm in to take over? There's nothing to stop them. Saishu frowned at her. We are the last Uzumaki, we can't abandon our ancestral home. My home is wherever my son is. Our duty is to restore the clan, uncle, not guard a piece of ground. Especially not if there are damn rock nins on it. Do you know what they'll do if they even suspect who Naruto's father is? We can't leave Whirlpool, he said stubbornly. My son and I aren't staying, she said flatly. As clan head, I am ordering you to come with us. Saishu lifted a feathery eyebrow. Your clan head? My father was the clan head and I am his only remaining child, by tradition that makes me head of the Uzumaki. Saishu looked at her and considered. Please don't abandon me, uncle, she said quietly, her tone pleading. You and Naruto are my only family now. Looking heartbroken, he nodded. I won't, I'll protect you and my little grandnephew. It's just hard to leave though. I know, she said. I loved this place too, but what matters is family. We'll find a new home for the Uzumaki. Which brings us back to the question of where do we go from here? Tsunade said. Tsunade, maybe it's time for you and Shizune to strike out on your own. I appreciate all you've done, but there's no need for you to do any more. Actually, since you don't have a home right now, I thought that Shizune and I would stay with you. After all, someone has to give my little godson checkups and take care of his health. Kushina's lips quirked into an amused grin. Godson? She asked. I don't seem to recall offering you that job. If that pervert is good enough to be a godfather, I am more than good enough to be a godmother. Fine, but you have to stop gambling. Don't push it, Tsunade warned. As entertaining as all this is, Kakashi spoke up. Where do we go from here? I want to get as far from earth and fire as possible. Kushina said. We'll go south. South? Kakashi asked. Anything more specific? Not right now, Kushina said. Kakashi shrugged. South it is then. He was asleep when the guards came for him. Up on your feet, one of them yelled. Knowing he would be kicked if he didn't get up, he rose as fast as he could. The manacles clinked as they always did. There was a metal bar that kept his wrists a foot apart at all times, preventing him from making hand signs. It made using a pick and shovel harder, but the guards didn't seem to care. On his feet he was that, along with two of the regular guards, there was stranger. He wasn't dressed like a prison guard or even like a ninja. He wore big baggy pants and a buttoned-down white shirt and vest. He looked like a well-to-do merchant. The stranger looked closely at him. Is he the one? Are you sure? Yes, this is definitely him, one of the guards said. You don't look like you're worth 5 million. The stranger said, taking another close look. Huh? The prisoner said. Get him in my wagon, the merchant told the two guards. Grabbing him by his arms, they began to haul him out of the prison camp. The other prisoners were awake, but knew better than to stir or draw any attention to themselves. The guards were dragging him out in the middle of the night. Whatever the reason, he doubted it could be good. Normally the prisoners were simply worked to death, no matter how long it took. Most men died within a year or two. But he was a hard case. He was going to live on, if only to spite them. He had already survived. Was it 6 years of 7? He wasn't sure, but it was longer than any of the other prisoners. Maybe the guards were sick of him and had decided to just cut his throat rather than keep working him into the grave. If they're going to kill me, I wonder if I should say thank you. He began to really wonder what was going on as they headed for the prison camp's main gate. He had not stepped through there since his original arrival in this hellhole. He didn't believe he would ever pass through it again. Every single morning he got up, was fed a little rice and water, and was then marched into the stone quarry and worked until dark. Then he would be given some rice and water for dinner and marched back to the lodge where he would sleep with the others. When he died, he still wouldn't leave this place. They would just chuck him in one of the old quarry pits to rot. If they were going to kill him, they wouldn't go to the trouble of taking him outside the camp. As they neared the gate, the captain of the night watch came out. The merchant went over to him and something changed hands. The merchant then approached the 2 guards who were on the gate. He handed something to each of them and the gate was soon opened. A little ways outside he saw a covered wagon with a driver and 4 horses hitched up. The guards got him to the back of the wagon and hauled him up into it. There was an iron rod sticking out of the wagon floor. The guards took out a lock and neatly attached his bar to it. With that done, the 2 guards jumped back down and held out their hands. The merchant slapped a thick wad of Ryu notes into each palm. "Remember," the man said unhappily. "He died. He's gone." "Sure," one of them said happily. "Prisoners die all the time," said the other one said as he made his money disappear. As the guards headed back to the camp, the merchant looked at him with a very unhappy frown. "You have any idea how expensive it is to make a ninja slave disappear? If you were just a normal man, it wouldn't have cost a quarter as much. You had better be worth it, that's all I've got to say. If the offer turns out to be a trick, I'll cut you up and feed you to my dogs." "Who the hell are you?" the prisoner asked, not understanding at all what was going on. The man let out a sour laugh. "Your savior, obviously." With that he slammed shut the back of the wagon. Not long after that he felt the wagon lurch into motion. He spent the next 15 days traveling chained up on the back of the wagon. Other men would have considered the experience a horror. That would only prove that most people had no idea what horror really was. Each morning he was allowed out to use the facilities and be given a quick shower, usually by having a bucket of water splashed on him. He was then allowed to eat. The food was usually just rice and tea, but he was also given some fish and bread too, and he could have as much food as he wanted. For the first time in years he actually stopped being hungry. They would then lock him back into place on the wagon, but they would give him a bucket of clean water and a ladle so he would not get too thirsty. When the wagon stopped for the night, they would feed him again. Rice, bread, vegetables, even meat. It was plain fare, but to him it was a feast, and again he could eat all he wanted. He asked the merchant and the driver why they were feeding him so well. The man had laughed. "After everything I've spent on you up till now, the last thing I want is for you to die of starvation on the way there." "And just where are we going?" the prisoner had asked. "River country," the man had answered. The prisoner had done a lot of traveling back when he was still a ninja working for his village. But he had never once gone to river country. "Why? What's in river country?" the man had laughed. "Your new owners, of course." Along with getting fed and cleaned, he'd even got some new clothes as well as a haircut and a shave. When he saw his reflection in the bucket, he actually looked like the man he'd been when he'd been captured. Oh, he looked thinner and older, but at least he looked what people called presentable. After 15 days of travel, they came to the city of Kyosu. When the back of the wagon opened, the prisoner saw that along with the merchant and driver there were about 15 big ugly-looking guards. "We're here," the merchant announced. "Now either I sell you or I feed you to my dogs." With that, a couple of the guards pulled him down off the wagon. Here turned out to be a bounty station. Could I have a bounty on me after all this time? It hardly seemed possible. And who in their right mind would pay to kill him or imprison him when he was already trapped in hell? He didn't need to wait long. As soon as he arrived, the man sent out a messenger. Not long after that, his owners arrived. 2 people dressed in brown robes with hoods over their heads. He couldn't guess who they were, but by the nervous way the merchant and his men were looking in their direction, he'd have bet anything they were ninja. The merchant licked his lips and cautiously stepped forward. "He is the one you want?" "Yes," a woman's voice answered immediately. The prisoner was surprised to learn one of them was a woman. And there was something just a little familiar about that voice. "Then our bargain?" the man asked nervously. "Here," the woman reached into her robe and produced something, then tossed it to him. It sparkled in the sunlight. "Now let him go." The man grabbed it with both hands. He quickly produced a jeweler's lens and studied it. The prisoner thought it was a diamond necklace. "It's real," the merchant practically sang. He looked up at the 2 in robes and smiled at them. "I don't know what you want him for, but you've made the single worst bargain I've ever heard of." "No," the woman's voice was iron. "He's worth 1,000 times what I paid you. Now let him go." The man made the necklace disappear and nodded, shouting to his guards to let him go. For just a second the prisoner thought about making a break for it. But the manacles were still on his wrists. He doubted he could outrun the guards, never mind the ninja. Taking a deep breath, he walked towards the two figures in their hooded cloaks. "Just who are you people and what do you want with me?" "We'll tell you in a minute," the woman said. "Just as soon as we are inside," a man's voice said. The prisoner looked at him. That voice was very familiar. The woman placed a hand on his arm and made a hand sign. The two of them disappeared in a swirl of wind and mist. The other one made a similar gesture and disappeared as well. When they reappeared, it was in a small room in some hotel. The instant that happened, the woman pressed herself to his chest and began shaking. "Urasai," she cried.